We're going to look at Iran now. Masses of people out on the streets of Tehran to mark Student Day, which commemorates the killing of 3 students in the city 56 years ago. Now, we've heard, security forces are apparently using tear gas and batons against opposition protesters. But we say apparently because we have little independently verified picture to prove it. The Iranian government's effectively taken the country off the international airways. Static all over the place. Journalists have had their visas revoked for 3 days. Now, that means we can't get onto the streets to see what's actually happening for ourselves, so we turn to the other sources, things like the new media on the internet. We'll be getting a few photographs. This one, for example, has come from Twitter. You see what appears to be tear gas rising over the streets of Tehran where the protesters are, and that certainly corroborates some of the independent reports we have had. Of course, video coming in through YouTube as well. Have a look at this one. Pulling down a gate, protesters here, and quite a gathering it looks like as well. This is coming from Tehran as well, so the posting says. Certainly still a lot of anger there on Student Day in Tehran. Now, we've also had reports of an attempt to cut out this sort of information traffic as well, the online stuff. Tarek Bazley's been looking at that and what we have been able to find out from within Tehran.
With websites blocked and cell phone networks down, Iran's government has done its utmost to stop the world from seeing these images. The annual Students' Day commemorates the death of students during an anti-American protest in 1953. But now, 6 months after disputed presidential elections, it's become a focus of thousands of opposition supporters. With reporting by foreign media restricted, websites like YouTube and Twitter provide unconfirmed accounts of events on the ground as protesters clashed with government Basiji militia members.
Several groups attacked Basijis at Soumaya Street, forced them to flee and abandon buses with arrested students.
Basij thugs crushing the windows of banks and shops around Valiasar. People scattered in huge groups fighting back.
Arrested students have been placed on buses and are asking for help.
Witnesses reported seeing police using batons and tear gas. These students at Tehran University, prevented from leaving. Reports that water and power supplies to some student dormitories were cut. And these images from another university appear to show students tearing down the university gates. Security forces, including the elite Revolutionary Guards, had warned that they would step in to prevent any attempt to use the event to stage opposition protests. Their confrontational approach being openly criticised by opposition leader Mehdi Karoubi.
The solution to arrive at reconciliation is tolerance and acceptance of criticism. We need to work to restore the trust between the authorities and the people. Repression is not at all the solution, neither today nor tomorrow.
Since June's disputed poll, Iran's government has cracked down hard on protests by opposition supporters. Despite this heavy-handedness, Monday's protests clearly show many remain willing to test their authority. Tarek Bazley, Aljazeera.
Ali Reza Nourizadeh is the director of the Centre for Arab and Iranian Studies and is in our London News Centre for us right now. I'm sort of thinking of that old saying, you know, if you've got nothing to hide, then there shouldn't be a problem. Now, if the Iranian government had nothing to hide, then why would there be a blackout on media services, foreign journalists having their visas revoked? What do you make of it?
Well, actually, hello to you and your viewers. I mean, they do have a lot to hide. I mean, what's happening today, it showed, although there was a blackout, there was, you know, they prevented all the news agencies to witness what is happening. But in the meantime, the student, the Iranian, they know how to deal with them. They managed to send us tens of films. I just, before I left my office, I had the last one which came, it was the 32nd film I received since this morning. And then, of course, there is another thing I want to say to you now. Mrs. Zahra Rahnavard, the wife of Mr. Mousavi, she has been beaten badly, and they throw pepper gas to her eyes, and she was blinded for a while. And now, thanks God, I just had a call, and they said she's now can see.
Where did you get that report from, just out of interest?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody close to Mr. Mousavi. He was actually in his house, was telling me what happened. And tens of people, they were badly beaten in Mashhad University, in Tehran, in Shiraz, Isfahan, other places. And since this morning, we were trying to gather information in order to inform the international organization responsible for human rights about what has happened in Iran.
Okay, so then
they treated...
So, sorry, I want to just jump in there. What do you think then the Iranian government is trying to do here? Because it seems all a bit obvious. You try to block the media. It immediately suggests that there's something to hide. The media that does come out then gets magnified. These videos that you've been talking about, the types of things we've seen, the Twitters, the YouTubes, it all gets magnified and in a way makes the whole situation worse.
Well, I mean, all dictators in history, we know that they learn their lesson very late. They should have listened to the people 4 months ago. What the people wanted, they wanted another election. They wanted a clean election. Now they killed, they tortured, they raped, and now the way they are dealing with the student. And Mr. Mousavi warned them the day before yesterday, it's not the way you behave. And you know, they are very worried, not about this one. This one has passed anyway. But they are worried about Muharram, Tasu and Ashura, when the Shia mourning for Imam Hussein. Those days they cannot block the road, they cannot prevent news media from, you know, sending news from Iran. This is two particular important day of mourning for Hussein, for third Imam of Shia.
Okay.
They are worried about those days, and perhaps that was a practice. They wanted to see how they are in control, how they can control old cities, big cities. They failed.
Okay, I want to switch our focus for a moment and actually look at the opposition movement itself. Is it as cohesive and as strong as it perhaps was in the aftermath of the elections? We see, again, these pictures which we see are very limited and they're not really in context as such. What might look like a big crowd there may not actually be so in reality. Do you think this opposition movement has the same strength it used to?
Yeah, let me tell you, you have tactics and you have a strategy. This strategy is the same, but the tactics varies and changes. Now, the student, they decided rather than coming all to Tehran University or the University of Capital of Provinces, they go to all different universities. Therefore, you have a couple of thousand here, 1,000 there, and that was a very successful experience. The opposition, they are as strong as they were. The regime thought by arresting some of the leaders, they will manage to get over it, but they failed. Now the opposition is stronger as ever, and I'm sure you will see surprises during those 2 days of mourning for in Muharram, in 1 month's time.
Alireza Nourizadeh, very interesting to talk to you and to get your thoughts. Thanks for joining us.